Good morning. Yeah, I'm all right.
In the Victorian period, there were magazines that were super popular called penny dreadfuls, and the moral authorities of the time railed against these, but they had, a huge amount of popularity amongst the reading public.
They're my words.
The post that launched a million tweets and spawned countless TV dramas, documentaries, and even a successful play at the Ambassadors Theatre that's been the home of Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap since 1952. In the summer of 2022, Coleen Rooney and her husband Wayne walked the steps of the High Court for what was dubbed the trial of the century. Now she stands no less glamorous on the red carpet for a documentary about the saga that gripped a nation. If you need the context, Rebecca Varney, wife of former England star Jamie, lost her libel case against Rooney after Coleen accused her then friend of selling stories from her private social media accounts to major tabloid newspapers. Though winning the court case, Coleen says the documentary is to tell the story people don't know in full.
My brother, for instance, watched it and he said I didn't really know that that's what happened. So there will be things that people don't know. I think, it tells a story from the beginning to end with a flow, whereas I feel like a lot of people were just getting bits from the press and media. So it's a good way of putting it out there and people having an understanding.
Ruth Adams is a professor at King's College London in Culture and Media Studies, and she explained that the bare bones of the story is one we've loved for centuries.
It's a detective mystery, so hence the sort of the Agatha Christie references, and that's obviously very appealing. It has an enduring appeal to people, that sort of mystery with a whodunit. But it's played through the sort of like the contemporary lens of social media and tabloids.
Coleen's Story, the new documentary. I watched the trailer.
Have you still got the post on your phone?
Yeah.
And then last night, I watched the first episode.
So Cafe Nero was where they packed me on the day when I done the post.
And what struck me was the tone of the piece felt very serious. And it feels bizarre that I'm being asked to take it so seriously.
I mean, there are some more serious stories here, or more serious issues being considered here, and that's about privacy and consent and what ends up in the public domain, and what people, even if they are famous people, have a right to a private life, and what aspects of their lives should be private. I think in a sort of like an era where the news is enduringly miserable, it's wars, it's climate change, it's pandemics. We live in a very complex, nuanced world these days where that sort of black and white isn't very apparent. And maybe this was a story in which people felt that they could take sides in, or, get involved in a fairly low stakes, non-controversial way.
That's the post that you put up on the 9th of October 2019, the reveal post.
It is.
What were you trying to achieve by putting that post up, Mrs. Rooney?
I wasn't achieving anything. What I wanted was to stop the person who was leaking my private information to the Sun.
Lisa Sperling directed the successful play Vardy vs Rooney, based almost verbatim on the court transcripts, so knows what happened better than most.
A Channel 4 drama, a BBC documentary, your play, and now this Hulu documentary series on Disney+. What about this whole thing lent itself as such good fodder for creatives in the arts?
I don't think it's even about what's about in the creative arts. It's about what's in all of us that goes, there is someone who we get a sense of, we think we know something about, and then, a la Wizard of Oz, we get to peek behind the curtain and see elements of their lives or their private messages. And I think in the UK especially, we're obsessed with when truth is sort of stranger than fiction, like you couldn't make it up. I think we used the tagline at one point, you couldn't make it up, so we didn't. The sort of additional material that's been created I feel like all of this came about because two women who were in the public eye were really trying to control the narrative about their lives. And in doing so, all of these other things were triggered and snowballed into something crazy. I feel like it comes from such a place of going, I want the last word, and I want to be able to tell my side, which is really human. I get it.
You knew, didn't you, that it would be picked up by media?
To be honest with you, well, sorry for using that, but yes, I do. My life has been picked up by the media for the last 20 years, no matter how big or small the things I do. So obviously it was going to get picked up by the media.
But it wasn't about you.
We were trying to put these words back into these women's mouths and some of the story for us to hear it as is, as opposed to everything that had been sort of truncated or represented by the media.
Kim Kardashian has been caught speeding. The reality star was stopped after apparently being chased by paparazzi on a Los Angeles road.
Are you going to get any social, like, cameras around here? Or...
Yeah, there will be.
For as long as there have been mass media, there's definitely been a public hunger for human interest stories, and particularly human interest stories that revolve around crime and intrigue.
How do you feel now compared to when you first perhaps saw the story break? Like me, where you might have been, this is ridiculous that this is a thing and kind of a symptom of our times. Having been through the whole project, do you now have much more respect for them and, I suppose, sympathy for everything they were trying to do?
Yeah, loads more respect. Loads more respect, loads more sympathy. And even in the case of Rebecca Vardy, I mean, everyone has their opinion on whether she did it, she didn't do it, what went on. I still feel like we talked a lot in rehearsals about the fact that this story probably won't happen, which is partly, I think, why you'll know better than me, why the media were so hooked on it. This story probably won't happen in 10 years' time, because in 10 years' time, we'll probably have some laws in place that if you follow someone on Twitter or you're invited into someone's private Instagram circle, that as part of that, you sign a disclaimer going, I'm not going to share any materials or stuff. We're so, it feels like the Wild West, doesn't it? We're so early on in that. And in terms of Coleen, the level of detail and someone just, as I said, just taking control and going, okay, I'm gonna document this and record this and create Wagatha Christie, I'm gonna create evidence and the ultimate sleuth. And then when you get into trial, just the kind of her recall and the information that she had and her kind of staying steady and not being distracted by the noise of it all and the publicity of it all, and just going, this is what has happened. I'm trying to claw back dignity, my life, my family situation, and go back to being who I want to be. I had a huge respect for that.
What it might tell us about us is less embarrassing than we might have thought. The real story playing out felt as much like light entertainment as the TV shows that followed. But as a metaphor for our grapple with our own privacy in modern times, it was as silly as it is inspiring to see two strong female characters fight for their own honour and a sense of control when in an age where it often feels like we have none. That might explain our obsession with the saga.
This is going to be total mayhem.
Don't play games with a girl who can play better.